I have my bag of everything that I bought in Waterstones and I can't wait to share it with you all. Hey friends, welcome back to another video. Today I have a really exciting video for you all because I had the chance to visit not just England or London's largest bookshop, but Europe's largest bookshop. And so I visited Waterstones Piccadilly a couple of, maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago now actually, and it was incredible. I think it had, did it have 5 or 6 floors? I'm not entirely sure, but it had multiple floors and it was by far the largest Waterstones shop that I've ever been inside. I have with me my English fruits tea and I'd love to know if you've got a tea or lovely beverage with you all as you watch this as well. If you're also wondering about the change in the setup, I recently acquired this gorgeous standing desk and it's a little bit larger than the previous desk that I owned, and so it's meant that I've had to shift things around in my room to make room for it. And now my bed's right in front of me, so I can't really film comfortably using the chair that I had because that chair was a little big and bulky as well. So now I've resorted to just standing up for the time being, but I'm actually quite enjoying it. But back to books. The Waterstones Piccadilly chain has over 8 miles of books, I believe, and that sounds crazy, and it was actually such a cool experience going inside as well. I had such a good time browsing through all the shelves and each floor was just so magical. But before I take you along with me, I want to share with you all today's sponsor, Skillshare. As a children's book illustrator, I have the privilege of bringing to life someone else's story with pictures and art, and as wonderful as that is, my dream is one day to be able to author illustrate my own books. And so I've been brainstorming over the last few years to see what I can come up with, but I've realised that I really appreciate a professional to guide me through the craft so that I don't feel so lost when it comes to writing. And I recently came across a class on Skillshare called Creative Writing Bootcamp Start a Brand New Story, hosted by Myla Goldberg, who's a best-selling author. I've been taking her classes and she's just so incredibly fun and informative. I've really appreciated how unique and intriguing a lot of the exercises were, and I think one of my favourites was eavesdropping into other people's conversations and seeing how people talk in real life in order to create a more realistic dialogue. Myla Goldberg offered so many wonderful tips that I'd never thought about before, and I really appreciated learning about how writing was all about empathy more so than sympathy. The bootcamp overall has really helped me to feel more confident when it comes to writing, and I can't wait to try and implement some of the techniques and exercises that I learnt when it comes to writing my own stories. Skillshare is the largest online community for creatives with thousands of classes led by experts across so many industries like film, illustration, design, freelancing, productivity and more. Since summer is coming up very soon, it would be amazing to really invest in a new skill, maybe one that you've been meaning to learn for a long time like me, and start a learning journey on Skillshare. The first 500 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. And now let's go and visit Europe's largest bookstore together. I couldn't contain my excitement as soon as I saw the rows and stacks of books upon books, and I was a bit overwhelmed in the best way possible though, of just how big the store was. So I decided to start off by visiting each floor to get an overall feel of what each floor had to offer. I was really surprised and happy to find that this chain offered a selection of Persephone books and other indie publishers. I just had the most fun picking and flicking through books that I was already familiar with, as well as ones that I'd never seen or heard about before. I couldn't believe how large their selection of romance books was. I've never seen so many romance novels in one place before. I was looking specifically for Captain Wentworth's Diary by Amanda Grange because I just finished reading Persuasion by Jane Austen, and whilst they had a copy of Dear Mr. Darcy, they sadly didn't have Captain Wentworth's Diary in stock. I always find it so exciting and fun whenever I visit the middle grade corner of bookshops, and I love to see if there are any new middle grade fantasies that have been released. Of course, a lot of the books that we see on BookTube and BookTok were also displayed, but my level of excitement rose even higher once I reached the fantasy section of the shop. A lot of the books that were on my wish list that day were fantasy books, and so I spent a very long time trying to find each one. One thing that I love about Waterstones is in general how they offer a really good selection of manga, at least my local Waterstones branch does, but Piccadilly's collection of manga was just on a whole different scale. I've been wanting a copy of The Saviour's Book Cafe in Another World, the manga series, but I haven't been able to find it anywhere, and sadly this particular store didn't have it in stock either. But I did find some other really fun looking manga volumes and lots that I'd never even heard of before. After spending hours amongst books in the fantasy, manga, middle grade and romance shelves, I finally made my way to the contemporary and modern classics section. There's something about how clean and put together the covers of these books are. They're so well and beautifully designed, and I love looking through each one. One of my bookish goals this year was to read more classics, and I'm really glad that I've actually stuck to this goal and have been making my way through classics that have been on my TBR list for ages. But there are so many that I want to make my way through, and I loved being able to see an entire spread of classics that I want to read next. I have my bag of everything that I bought in Waterstones and I can't wait to share it with you all. I ended up purchasing 5 different books and I'm so excited to share this with you all. I've just popped my bag here so I can easily take things out and show you all. So in no particular order, the very first book I got was The Darling Buds of May by H.E. Bates. So this sweet and fun and chirpy modern classic takes place on a farm in Kent throughout the months of May and June, so it's perfect for this time of year. This book follows Pop and Ma Larkin and their 6 children in Kent, England, and one May evening they return home to find a young man waiting there. He's called Mr. Charlton, I think. Yeah, Mr. Cedric Charlton, and he's there to see why Pop Larkin hasn't been paying his taxes. So he's there as an inspector of taxes. It's a very funny and charming book as Pop Larkin tries to tell Mr. Charlton that things don't run the same way that Mr. Charlton might expect on this farm and out in the countryside. There's a little bit of romance here between Mr. Charlton and Pop Larkin's eldest daughter Mariette. And basically this whole book takes place over spring and summer as the family show Mr. Charlton around their farm, the beautiful English countryside, having lots of ice cream together and strawberry picking in June in the heat. And it's really a very delightful short book. I've already read it, hence why I've tabbed everything, and I really enjoyed it actually. This book doesn't take itself very seriously at all. It's filled with English humour and banter. It's very charming and filled with some gorgeous descriptions of a warm spring and summer's evening in May and June. Okay, next up we have The Apothecary Diaries by the story is by Natsu Hyuga and the art is by Neko Kurage. Also, I didn't realise until I left the shop, but all the books that I picked up are very green in their cover designs, and so I thought I'd wear a matching green top to match with all the books. I genuinely have little to no idea what this book is about, but it's been on my radar. I've seen it on Goodreads a couple of times, and I've always been very intrigued by the cover art and the title of the series, the manga series. I believe this follows a girl called Mao Mao, and she has been trained her whole life in the art of herbal medicine. Mao Mao has been working as a lowly servant in the palace all her life until one day she ends up breaking a curse on the imperial heirs, I believe, and it attracts the beautiful Jinshi. And I think that might be the character or the name of this character, I'm not sure, but she ends up attracting their attention and it makes her become very much involved in like a detective case. She's brewing potions and mysterious herbal medicines in order to solve mysteries. So I think it has a little bit of like crime detective elements going on. I'm hoping it has something for the cottagecore lover in me as well. I've been hoping to pick up a new manga series for a while now, so hopefully this is really fun and engaging and a really good story. Okay, next up we have Trust of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, and I did tell you guys I got all books that were very green. This one actually matches my top beautifully. Anyways, Trust of the Emerald Sea is a book that I actually started last year. I have the hardback version of this book, but I got about maybe 40% of the way into it and I was actually really enjoying it, but I don't know, I find it so hard to get through hardbacks. So I've brought the hardback copy and here's a paperback version. So as you guys already know, hardbacks are a lot heavier and bulkier than paperbacks, and I find it very hard to carry them around. I don't really want to be carrying anything too heavy because I already have to carry like my laptop and my iPad and everything when I go out to work in a cafe, so paperbacks are always just much easier for me to grab. I also have pretty bad carpal tunnel syndrome because of my work, and so when I read at night I just don't like to hold and carry heavy books. It puts a lot of strain on my wrists, and so I found myself not picking this book up because of that reason, even though I was really enjoying the story. So I thought it might be worth picking up the paperback version just because it's lighter and easy to get through, and also I quite like the cover of this one, so I'm thinking of selling my hardback copy on Vinted or giving it to the charity. So this book follows Tress, and Tress has lived her whole life on an island that's surrounded by a very emerald sea. And this sea is emerald because it's filled with spores, so it's extremely toxic and dangerous. Tress has been living her whole life very simply on this island, and she loves to collect quirky mugs. She's loved listening to her friend Charlie's stories, until one day Charlie ends up being sent away by his father overseas, and he gets into a bit of trouble, and so Tress decides to set off on a solo mission, a bit of a quest across the dangerous spore-filled oceans to find and to rescue Charlie. I've never watched The Princess Bride, but I believe this story takes like a bit of a spin-off of it, and maybe off one of the characters in The Princess Bride. I remember this story being really magical, bit of a fairy tale like atmosphere to it, and I also remember really liking Tress as our main character. Anyways, I'm excited to read or reread and try and finish Tress of the Emerald Sea this time. The next book I have here with me is 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater, and this is a companion novel in the Regency fairy tale series. I believe that's what it's called, and the very first book in it was Half a Soul. I absolutely adored Half a Soul. It's one of my all-time favorite books now, so I don't know why it's taken me this long to pick up 10,000 Stitches. So this book follows a housemaid called Effie, and Effie has most inconveniently fallen in love with a gentleman called Mr. Benedict Ashbrook. But because this book is set in Regency England, Effie as a housemaid can't marry a gentleman, and so she ends up acquiring the help of a fairy lord called Lord Blackthorn, and Lord Blackthorn ends up offering Effie a deal. He requests Effie to sew 10,000 stitches onto his favourite jacket, and in return he will help her win Mr. Ashbrook's heart. So now Effie has 100 days and 10,000 stitches to make Mr. Ashbrook fall in love with her, but I believe that Lord Blackthorn keeps getting in the way and causing accidents. The back of this book says that this book has a sort of Cinderella-like, fairy tale-like aspect to it, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I loved the banter and also the social commentaries in the first one, and of course the romance in it was just, oh, I love Elias Wilder so much. Anyways, if this book is anything like Half a Soul, then I know I'll love it just as much, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Last but not least, we have Hedge Witch by Skye McKenna. When this book first came out, I immediately added it to my Goodreads TBR list, and I knew that it was a middle grade that I would really enjoy, or would hopefully really enjoy. It's taken me quite some time to get my hands on it now. I know book 2 has already been released, but this book follows a girl called Cassie Morgan, and Cassie escapes her very dreary boarding school in England because she wants to find her mum who has gone missing. Cassie ends up being accompanied by a talking cat and an enchanted broom, and she ends up coming across an enchanted village called Hedgeley. In Hedgeley, she ends up coming across the Hedge Witch, and she trains under her to learn magical skills to protect the hedge, which is like a big expanse of forest, like a sort of border between England and the fairy realm. So I'm really excited about this magical middle grade fantasy, and I hope, well, I think it will have lots of luscious descriptions of life in the forest, of magic, talking cats. Okay, so that adds to my stack of 5 almost all green books for this haul. I'm so happy with each and every single one that I picked out. I spent ages looking and browsing because I couldn't decide which ones to get, and in the footage that I filmed you will have seen like me picking up and putting down loads of different books, but I am so happy with the final 5 that I picked out. and I already enjoyed The Darling Buds of May, so hopefully I'll enjoy the other 4 books as well. That concludes the end of this video. I hope you enjoy the footage of the actual bookshop itself and also the little haul aspect of it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye friends!